You unrelease. Depending on the implementation. Yeah.
Cool. Should we start? It's a little awkward. But all right. You guys in the back hear me okay? We good? Raise your hand if you can't hear me. Just kidding. Okay. We're going to talk about Chromeapps for mobile. Has anyone played around with this yet? That new technology? A little bit? Okay. Well, I'm going to spend a little bit of time kind of warming up into Chromeapps and extensions, and then we'll do some code. But my name is Aaron Frost. On Twitter, I'm JSDev, and if you guys have any questions, aaronfrost@gmail.com. A little bit about me. I love to go ice fishing. Come on, slides. Yeah, with my kids. Some of our favorite things to do. I love Chrome extensions a lot too. And I think that Chromeapps are going to change the way that we write apps in the future. So when people hear about Chrome extensions and Chromeapps, they're not the same thing. And they have different purposes. And I wanted to explain the difference because when you hear about Chromeapps versus Chrome Package App versus Chrome hosted apps, it's like, dude, what are all these bloody things? So I kind of wanted to go through the suite of the Chrome app stuff. So I kind of wanted to explain the difference between, I want to explain what extensions and apps are, and then I'll talk about the differences and the similarities. So extensions, you install in your browser and they stop bad things from happening, right? Like they take away your ads from Facebook, right? Or every site. And then they add functionality to your browser too, like they put new things up in your Chrome, right? And, come on, slides. You're better than that. And like when you're listening to music on Grooveshark, there's not a download button unless you have an extension that adds a download button to it, and then there's a download button. So like it lets you kind of tell the internet how you're going to experience it, rather than just receiving the default user experience. They also auto update, which is pretty cool because if you have bug fixes, they take care of the updating instantly. Auto pushes to all your users, and that's true unless you increase the permissions you need. So you can't get them to walk in with just their email, and then the next day you switch it up to file system access, right? So as long as you're not switching up the permissions, then they auto update and your users get the fixes they need within minutes. It's pretty cool. I want to talk about times when it's good to make Chrome extensions, because a lot of us are like, well, I want to have one and I want it to be cool, but when would I write the bloody thing? So if there's a new popular website, you would write one. If there's a closed platform, a site that you need changes to, but it's not currently doing that, you could write a Chrome extension for that. Or if you just want to make something easier. Or ultimately, if you got a way to make or save money, you would do that. So let me give you guys some examples. So a popular website, when Google Plus came out, I wrote Google minus. It was the first weekend it was out. And all it did was tell you who uncircled you. Right? That's all it did. It wasn't anything fancy, but 25,000 installs the first night. So it was pretty cool. So if there's a new platform that doesn't have extensions already built around it, it's a good time to write some extensions. If it's a closed platform, there's no API and the site's not currently being maintained, then that's another good time. An example is I used to work at a credit credit repair agency. We fix people's credit. And obviously the credit bureaus aren't going to give us an API to help fix people's credit, right? So we had hundreds of employees typing these credit reports in every day. We literally had rows and rows and rows of people with just headphones typing faster than I could read, literally, and it sucked. So one day we built a browser extension, and it's kind of a sad point of humanity. We fired everyone, but the Chrome extension did all the work that everyone else was doing. Right? It was able to just take the data off the web and put it into the database, which is the same thing they were doing. And it was easier to train the Chrome extension than it was to train the humans, right? Anyway, so if you want to make something easier, like Trello.com, does anyone use Trello? Yeah. So there's no when you look at a list, it's I don't know how deep this thing is. Is there 100? How far down does the rabbit hole go? So there's browser extensions all over Trello to do stuff for you to make Trello easier, but a lot of sites. And then if you need to make money, or if you can save time, I wrote an app called The Order Geek. It was a browser extension. that helped real estate agents through a really petty and ridiculous CAPTCHA system. It solved the CAPTCHAs for them and submitted the forms. They just said go, and it would make them money. So it's pretty cool. And I got paid through PayPal. So if you got a way that you can use a browser extension to hook into someone's system, and it's another good time. So they're mods for the browser. In a nutshell, the users can control what they see rather than just getting the default experience, and then the auto updates for quick response. So let's talk about what Chromeapps are. Chromeapps are offline by default, so all of the assets get installed locally to the machine rather than every time the app loading, it goes and fetches its resources remotely. And I say they're as capable as native apps, and I put a caveat that on the APIs that it has, Chromeapps are capable. They can do the things that you need them to do. And they're as secure as web apps, right? Because it's built inside the Chrome sandbox, so you're not like, oh, well, if I build a Chrome app, your users should feel safer with installing a Chrome app than they would feel installing a native app, because a native app install, and all of a sudden you got 45 Internet Explorer toolbars at the top of your browser, and like all your Excel files are uploading to Russia. So like if you have a Chrome app, they should feel way more secure knowing that that you're locked as a programmer inside the Chrome sandbox. And the cool thing though is that they can look like native apps. They don't have a browser window URL. They don't have the browser Chrome that we're used to. But it's made out of the web technology, so it's super flexible and it's really simple. But they have access to hardware APIs. So some of you guys are thinking, why do I need pseudo-native when I can just write native app, right? Did anyone?
Native app when you don't have to.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so the upgrade model for native app is not nearly as streamlined as the upgrade model for a Chrome app. And also, with a native app, you need to bring your own offline storage, right? Like if you don't have the internet, you bring in your own, whereas Chrome kind of has those things, all those APIs built in. And does native ever really uninstall all the way? Has anyone ever worked at like Windows tech support? I did. So they never really fully uninstall all the way. It's kind of sucky. But Chromeapps do. You're restricted to only being able to put things in the folder that will uninstall when they remove your Chrome app. So anyway, have you guys ever seen this thing? And I kind of talked about this already, right? And then this thing, what's going to happen when I click run?
We don't have.
What's going to happen? Anyone know? What permission does it need? All? It has the same permission as my user has. So, but what does it need? It doesn't. I don't know what it needs. It needs everything that I can do. And then, yeah, you end up like this, right? Like all of our parents, we've had to uninstall this stuff for them, right?
But you're to blame because you clicked run. It's not their fault.
Yeah, it's not that I clicked run, you're right. So yeah, Chromeapps protect your users from all that, and as a user that installs Chromeapps, if you had a native solution versus a Chromeapps solution, clearly you'd pick the Chrome solution just because of how much it protects you as a user. So there's two kinds of Chrome apps: package apps, hosted apps. A little talk about the difference. Hosted apps are just a wrapper around a remote website. So you can install it, but really it's just loading like a remote site. And the assets live on the remote server, limited hardware access. They don't have the same hardware access that a packaged app would have. But if you guys want a great explanation, out on the developer tools on the developers.chrome.com, there's this article entitled Apps versus Extensions. And they talk about the difference between apps and extensions, but they also explain the difference between package apps and hosted apps. So if you want to understand the difference a little bit better. Okay, so package apps, they look the same as hosted apps to the user, but the assets live locally on the client, and you can have all the APIs if you're like, well, what APIs can I have? So on Chrome, the list of APIs is really long. You can even launch like a server. Does that sound ridiculous?
But they're not the same as Node's APIs.
They're not the same as Node APIs. Don't bring us down, man. Don't bring it down at all. They're not the same as Node's APIs. But you could write some utilities with like a local server, like a live reload type thing. It would be something you can implement, or some sort of local thing that that had a host. Anyway, but yeah, the list of APIs is really long, and every day it gets longer. So yeah. At the end of this talk, I'll have a link to a talk that I gave at Fluent a few years ago, where my friend Dave and I, just to show off what you could do, we hooked up a electrical shocking device to the serial port that listened for a signal from our Chromeapp and shocked each other. Because that was listening to the speech recognition API, and every time I did what I've done 100 times here, which is when I say it would shock me, because I was trying to get better, not shocking. Anyway, so it was really fun. See, I can't talk about saying it. It was a really fun talk, and there's a link to it that you guys can see. But don't troll me if I say here. It runs outside of a browser, so it's not a tab inside your browser. It's an app. It looks like an app. It has a toolbar, and it can even add itself into the start menu if you request permission to do that. So the similarities are the assets can install locally. There's less cores restrictions for building a Chrome app than you're used to when you build web apps. Like on a web app, if you try to, from example.com, try and hit an API from NFL.com, it would die, right? You get a CORS error. Well, in a Chrome app, you don't get an error. So you can request data from wherever you want to. So as long as they go to site A, log in, your Chrome app will fire with the same authentication that they just logged in with. So there's some things you can do, or you can build OAuth straight into your app. And they have unique Chrome APIs that allow you to do a simpler OAuth story or account management story or payment story. You can have in-app payments like built into your system, your platform. It's really, really easy. And then there's also the web store, so it's hosted for free, so you get discovery for free and rankings and feedback. And anyway, there's a lot of... and you can access storage, and the storage can actually sync across all different Chrome devices that they've logged into. So if I logged into Chrome at work and at home, the storage can sync across devices. What's up?
Can you sideload apps, or do you have to have a package?
So as a developer, you can sideload, and you used to be able to walk your users through sideloading it, but they took that down. So like you'd have to walk your users through opening the extensions page and then dragging and dropping the app onto the extensions page. So it's not the worst, but it's not as simple as clicking on the app. And actually, if you host the app in the web store, then you can configure it to where they can click a link on your website and it will install from your website. But it's all configurable, so you can do, and that's called an inline installation. You can do inline installations, but it's not like you can email them and say, hey, install this easily. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. Good question. Did anyone else have any other questions? I haven't even stopped for questions. I'll stop for questions. Aaron?
What do you mean by less cores?
Less cores restrictions. So when you're on one website on the web, yeah, you just have to say, hey, when you install the app, it's going to show the user, hey, this app wants permission to, whatever, NFL.com or WellsFargo.com. And then they'll see, oh, he's got explicit access to do he can hit all the APIs or do whatever he wants on that site. So you can hit sites that you normally can't hit in a website. Does that make sense? Where you're blocked when you build in the web, in a Chrome app, you can remove some of those restrictions. The only reason you can't do that, though, is because you have to request permission explicitly, and it will show those permissions to the user when they install. And if you ever change those, it will stop auto-updating until they reapprove it, and they have to visualize the changes that you've made and re-accept it. Does that make sense?
One of the hard ways past week about how virus scanners actually affect ports sometimes firewalls, so that's great.
Yeah. So they both build as a CRX. Also, the difference is an extension runs in a regular browser, apps run in separate windows. Extensions can mod your Chrome window, apps can't. Extensions can't install on the OS, apps can. Extensions mod other sites, and apps are their own sites, so they can't mod other sites. So those are kind of the differences. So that's Chrome apps and Chrome extensions, okay? So I'm going to take you down another level deep. Hopefully you've played around with Chrome apps. You've seen some of it in the past. There's a new tool, though, that I want to talk about today. It's called Cordova Chromeapps. So Google realized quickly, I see this storm brewing internally at Google where they have the two largest platforms around right now, right? They have Chrome and they have Android. And they haven't married the two. because they're completely disparate technologies, right? And they haven't given Chrome a chance to run on mobile until now. So this is a big deal that the Chrome people have been clamoring for a long time. So they've decided to partner with Cordova to get this Cordova tool chain that will allow you to take your Chrome app and it will build it into a native mobile app. So you build once, it will run on your desktop, your Chrome OS device, your Android device, your iOS device, right? And everyone's like, what? Right? No one said this, right? Because we've all heard this before, right? Like, it's kind of like bacon heaven. We've heard this before, right? Like, this is the promising of all the things in one place, like the Zen of the world, right? But we've also heard this story before, right? Has anyone used titanium? Right? Has anyone tried PhoneGap? Right? It has its problems, right? So this is going to have some of the same problems that PhoneGap has. I'll just be honest. But I wanted to, before you guys cool story bro me, I wanted to explain why I think that it's actually a better story. So
It's called Cordova,
So PhoneGap is on top of Cordova, right? So it's not the same as PhoneGap. It's not the same as PhoneGap, but you'll have some of the same problems you had when you tried to build PhoneGap apps. So in the past, we built a web app, and we built a native, and we've tried to turn that into a native mobile web, right? So we want one code base that can function without access to hardware, and we want another piece that can access hardware. So you're trying to write one code base that can do two different, completely disparate sets of functionality, and it can get a little ugly. Well, writing for Chromeapps that were turned into native mobile apps, that you're writing a native web app that installs and has hardware access, and you're building that into a native mobile app that has access to the same APIs. So you're not trying to write two different versions of the same site. Does that make sense? So you're with your JavaScript, with your CSS aside, they can access the same APIs and they can do the same thing. So you're not trying to kludge in a web version and a mobile version into the same code base. Does that make sense? It's actually one. So that's why I think Chrome apps for mobile is a better user story than the PhoneGaps for mobile that we've seen in the past. Before you cool story bro me, because that's like when I talk to people about it, some people are like, hey, yeah, cool story bro, I've heard that before, like titanium promises the same thing and it doesn't do it, but yeah, anyway, so are there any questions before we get into some code? Yeah?
Two questions. So first, Firefox is developing some set of APIs and Chrome is also. Do you see any potential merging of those in the future?
I think they're talking about it, yeah. I mean, Firefox has its own app system. So, like in parallel with Chromeapps, Firefox has developed their own app system as well. And I don't know how deep the talks go about merging the two or making them so that they at least kind of speak the same type of languages. But yeah, so I'm not 100% sure. I know a long time ago when I wrote a Firefox extension, I configured it with XML and like Chrome extensions or JSON. So there's some differences there, but I don't know if they could standardize on some of it.
So if you take a Chrome app and you package it up with Cordova and make it a native mobile app, does the user have to have Chrome installed in order to run it?
On their mobile device.
On the device, yeah.
That's a great question. I think it would install it if it wasn't, but I'm not positive.
Does it turn it into Java?
You know what? I don't think so. Like for iOS would be like the biggest question because Android, a lot of people have Chrome already, right? But for iOS, that's like where you don't have Chrome like natively, right? So it's just using a web view and it's kind of polyfilling the APIs onto the existing browser.
So that was my question. So what happened with the APIs?
Yeah.
So they can do the same?
Because Chrome on iOS isn't Chrome, like everyone knows that, right? It's a Chrome wrapper around a Safari web view. So you don't have the Chrome APIs that you have in Chrome on your web view in Safari. So Chrome for iOS it's not what you think it is. Like it looks like one thing, but it's Safari with a different wrapper. So you're still just Safari, so it has to actually polyfill all the Chrome.extension and Chrome.app APIs onto it. So anyway, yeah.
Can you really reuse the same code base? I mean, because like when I'm running extensions or like Chromeapps, like it's like a separate compile process, and like it's kind of different.
What do you mean compile? How's it different?
Well, so you gotta install it. Like it's not.
You don't have CRX.
Like you have like your manifest file and stuff. Like, I mean, it seems like if you want to use that code base for like your web experience, like there's kind of some hoops you have to jump through.
So I didn't say it could be your default web experience. I'm saying it can be your Chrome app, it can be your desktop experience, and it can be your native mobile experience. So I'm saying you would go at your people with a Chrome app instead of a website. Does that make sense? But if you did an inline install, it'd be like a kind of the blink of an eye type install. Yeah.
Why aren't they just allowing from a website, like, this is an ultra extra security thing, like get TCP access? Why don't they, I mean, why are they all trying to go to these packaged app sites rather than just allowing them directly from a hosted app with improved security?
I don't know. The security model around is pretty insane though. Like anytime there's a hole, I mean the amount of time it takes to make an API just because of the way people can hack around them, it takes a really long time. So the progress is really, really slow.
And apps are cool. That's the plan.
What's that?
Apps are cool.
Yeah,
That's the plan.
they're both pretty cool though, if we're being honest. Okay, so if anyone wants to see my Chrome app preso that was crazy where we shocked each other, that's the link you would go to. But let's go ahead and do some code. So actually, let me show you guys the site. So if you guys just go to GitHub, the team is called Mobile Chromeapps, and they have this Mobile Chromeapps repo. And this repo is gonna walk you through getting everything installed. So they'll say, hey, here's how you set up your dev environment, install Node, get Java installed, install the Android SDK, install Ant, set up your iOS environment with Xcode, and then the CCA itself actually is an NPM module, so that's pretty cool. I like that they considered most of the people using this are going to be web developers and have Node installed already. So you just npm install CCA, and if you want to make sure that all these other steps up here you didn't screw them up, you just say CCA check-in, and it will check your environment, make sure you're good to go. And then once you get that all going, you can create your first app. So when you create it, you can have it create a new Chrome app for you, or you can link it to a Chrome app that's somewhere else on your file system, or you can actually copy the Chrome app over from a different place into your new app. So we're actually just going to go ahead and make one. So I'm going to go to this test directory, and we're going to say CCA create. What should we call our app? Cool story, right? It's going to go through. It takes care of setting it up for us. There's a lot of active commits in this repo. The CCA is upgraded, is updated a few times since I installed it. So now we have this. So if we go into Cool Story Bro, and we open up the WebStorm. So then that's another thing I like about this is you're actually building it in the web editor that you like rather than having to install Eclipse. Because let's be honest, right? Who here loves Eclipse? Raise your hand.
I couldn't even get it installed.
Viper loves Eclipse. Viper's glutton for punishment, though. WebStorm, where are you? Dude, how cool is this? Who here uses WebStorm? Two guys. What's the script? Who here uses Sublime Text? Who here uses IntelliJ? Huh, Sublime Text wins.
Wait, what about Vim?
Who here uses anything else that no one else uses?
Wait, what about Ben?
Yeah, that. Good job, dude. Okay, so
Everyone here uses Vim.
let's go ahead and open this directory. We'll go to source test. Cool story, bro. You can do it, Mac. Okay, so here's our app that we just created. You've got all these Cordova things it needs to do build, and then this www folder, that's your Chrome app. Okay, so this is where everything's at. Let's go ahead and install this in our browser, and we'll go ahead and run it. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to my Egghead. We're gonna load this app up. Tools, extensions, develop mode. Load our unpacked extension that we just made. Okay, so now we've got it installed, we can launch it, and there's our app, right? So that's how easy it is. I totally forgot to set up my Android device. Hold on one second. We'll go ahead and we'll launch this on my Android device too. Okay, so let's pull the terminal, and we'll say CD downloads.
How would the APIs actually work on iOS? Like, let's say it's alarm API.
It's not general release. It's still in beta. So the alarms is great though. I was playing around with the alarms already. It's not what you think it is. You think you're gonna set an alarm to wake yourself up in the morning. That's not what it is. Yeah, you saw alarms. It's not it. It's a kind of an elegant way of eliminating set timeout from your code. Like if you need to schedule a thing to happen often, set timeout would suck, right? Like in your mobile app to have a set timeout, that would kind of be lame. So an alarm just allows you to say, hey, at this time, call me back and I'll do this thing. So that's cool, bro.
Does that work with the does the app have to be the first thing? Do you have to be in the app
No.
to do it with background?
No. If it's, depending on what level of background it happens, because there's different levels, right? If it's all the way gone, then it's dead. But if it's still on, then it's good. Hey, dudes, go sit down in the back. Sorry, my kids are. Okay, what was I doing?
So
Android.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so here. So let's say java-jar sm.jar. Go ahead and do this device. Oh, let's turn the zoom down a little bit. Everyone see my device? Yep, that's it. Okay, so now we're inside the cool Storybrell directory. We're going to say cca run android. And it goes ahead and it does some stuff. It's just doing some compiling stuff.
Hey, Aaron, I got a question.
Yeah.
What would be the advantage if I didn't care about the packaged app? I just wanted to build a cross-platform mobile app to using this over a phone app?
This over phone gap. So you have some storage stuff that will sync with their browser here. Like when you log in with Chrome, they have this. It's called a sync storage instead of a local storage. And if you put something in there, it'll sync to all your devices. So there's some advantages to using that kind of stuff. So anyway, so you guys saw it just loaded on my device like that. So so that's how it works. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and to kind of debug it, it's cool because you debug it the same way you would debug a web app, right? Even though there's no URL and it kind of looks like a native app, I told it to open at this size. Normally, you can have it open at whatever size you want, but if you want to change the background to whatever, you could totally do that. But anyway, does anyone have any color they want the background to be? Green? Is that good? Anyway.
That's sexy right there.
So if you set up a workspace inside Chrome to where this thing connected to the same directory as where the code is, you can develop it pretty much all in your DevTools, save it, and then just run CCA run, and it will build it for your phone. So it's pretty cool. I wanted to show you some of the APIs and how they work across, so you can run it on a Chrome app and on a mobile device. So I built a different app, and I'm actually go ahead and open that up real quick.
Good question.
Yeah.
Compared to Node WebKit, this is basically going to allow me to run it on my phone, Blazor, WebKit, right?
True. And Node WebKit is it's not sandboxed, so you have all the APIs. You have the whole hard drive, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of what this is trying to prevent. So yeah. Like if you saw an app developer and he offered you a Chrome app and a Node WebKit app, and they did the same exact thing for you, I mean you'd install the Chrome app, right? Because it's infinitely more secure. I mean, not infinitely, but it's definitely way, more secure. This window, okay. So so this app, I'm gonna go ahead and load it up in the browser real quick, just so we can kind of see it. Let's close this guy. Load another unpacked extension. All right, now we go to home.
That was great. You didn't even build the package and install.
Super easy, right?
It ran from those.
Yeah. So as long as you get Ant and the Android SDK, and as long as you get your stuff set up, this CCA toolchain, it's pretty solid right now. So it's really easy to use. So I'm going to go ahead and install this one I built, and I'm going to launch it. And so this is I wanted to kind of show you guys a single sign-in type story. And it was really not much code, and most of the code, because I'm a Chrome app, there's an API to do it for me, and so it was really like almost zero effort. Yeah, or not. Dude, best demo ever. Okay, that's what it was supposed to do. So I didn't build this OAuth site. All I said was, hey Chrome app, authorize the user, and give me the token back when you're done. Because some of this stuff can be not easy when you're doing OAuth. Some of it can be troublesome. So I got 10 more minutes. So chill. Don't hear the clapping and think we're done. Okay, so I'm going to just say accept, and I'm going to say accept, and it goes ahead, it's done. Let's go to the modify. Yeah. Come on, dude. There we go. Okay, so anyway, so this is an app. So what I did here was I just wanted to walk through the OAuth story and then grab some of my Google Plus data and show you guys that this is something you could do once you've OAuth and you have a Google token. You can save that token, or if all you wanted OAuth for was to save their username, kind of like a single sign-on, you can do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and install this app on my mobile device, just so you guys can kind of see how the account management system that's built into Chrome, to where let me pick my account. I'll let you guys see how it runs on Android. So let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and switch over to that real quick.
So I was actually following along with some stuff, and I got a little lost. How was it that you opened up that once you've done the CCA build?
That was the desktop app from that.
The desktop one. So once you do CCA build, you got to come into your tools and extensions, and then you're gonna turn on developer mode. Well, everyone's gonna wait for you, AJ. Just watch me, bro. You're gonna turn on your dev tools, and you're gonna load the unpacked extension, and you're just gonna go find the www directory they created. Okay, and then once you load that, now you've got your app is installed. In fact, if you come down in here, it's actually, if you install this, the Chrome app tool drawer, it's actually right there, so you can just launch it right from there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run this over on, I'm going to install this on my phone, so I'm going to say CCA run Android again, and my ASM's still running.
This would work pretty much identically on iOS. This is demo right
Oh yeah, yeah. Do it, dude.
What would be the process to get it on the Google Play Store for the Android app you built it?
Oh, so that's the easy stuff, right? Yeah, like what you just said. That's like the part that's easy. But getting the app going is the hard stuff. Once, Google's gonna make a lot of money off you if you build a cool app. So getting it up into the Chrome Web Store and getting it into the Play Store, it's like click, 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 you're done.
Is it the same kind of thing for if you want to put it in the Apple Store?
No. Yeah. If you build it for Apple, there's no guarantee it will ever be released. But because they can kill anything they want, right? But they usually don't kill anything. They may make recommendations that you change the way you use stuff there.
Do you get like the compiled version so that you can upload that to Apple?
Yep, they give you. So Android's an APK. I'm trying to remember what the iOS ones are. Is it it's the IPA, that's right. Yeah, so it builds into the IPA. So yeah. Okay, so when it launched on my phone, it popped up the account management system for Android, right? So if I had different accounts I was logged into, it would let me pick one of the other ones. I'm only logged into me, so I'm going to click on me. Oh, duh. Can't click on it, it's on my phone, sorry. Alright, so now I can click OK. And then it will go ahead and load it for me. You'll notice one thing though, and I did this because I wanted to show some differences. It didn't show my profile picture's not there? AJ, you're number one, bro. So it didn't load my profile pictures. Did you guys notice that? It didn't load the picture here. There are some things that Chromeapps.
Thank you.
Did you guys see that? He freaked out. You can restrict that, by the way. That's a setting. So I actually had to use a web view in order to get Chrome to load that image from Google Plus, and the web view is not something that's supported yet in Chromeapps for mobile. So they just kind of skipped over it. So I just wanted to show you, like, those are the kind of things that you're going to go through when you're running through a beta level product. But it's really cool. Like anything I tried to do, I could do. I played around with the alarms API. So when you want to just sit around and play with it and see how it works, you just install that default app that it builds when you do a create, and then you come over and you open up your DevTools. And when you're like, well, what if I wanted to do chrome.blah.alarms.getAlarm, what is get all? You can just sit there in your DevTools, you can play around with the different APIs. So it's kind of a different like discovery story than you would have for Android anyway. Like it makes it real easy to kind of live pick out an API and try and use it kind of stuff. So it's really cool. But everything I played around with, I was able to get to work, the power management, the alarms, and the syncing and stuff. So go ahead and try it out. Does anyone have any questions before we end?
File system API, it doesn't limit you to, because you were saying the difference between.
So the only limit you have on the file system API is, let's say from one session to the next you wanted to retain access to that file. You can only maintain access up to 500 files at a time. It will only the most recent 500 files at a time can you retain access from one session to the next. Does that make sense? So you can just say, hey, give me an access key for that file, and it'll give you as many files as you want, but only the last 500 are going to be valid. The most recent 500. Not the ones you use the most, but the most recent. Does that make sense? And then, one last thing. What time does the next session start?
5 minutes.
No? All right. One last thing, for those who know, there's an extra manifest.json for mobile that just has some mobile configuration and some different permissions you have to request. But anyway, thanks guys.